How much do you think you remember about the 1950s? Take this challenge to find out your results. Don't forget to keep track of your score and share it with me in the comments. What was the name of the pre-packaged tray meal designed to be heated and eaten in front of the television, which debuted in 1953? The answer is the TV dinner. Who refused to give up her seat to a white passenger on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955? That person was Rosa Parks. What was the iconic Chevrolet car released in 1953 that became the symbol of American sports cars? The answer is the Chevrolet Corvette. What plastic hoop toy that rotates around the waist created a global craze in 1958? That was the hula hoop. Which U.S. president signed the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, changing the face of American transportation? The answer is Dwight D. Eisenhower. Which Elvis Presley song topped the Billboard charts for 11 weeks in 1956? Hound dog is the correct answer. What was the name of the first dog sent into space by the Soviet Union in 1957, causing Americans to worry about a technology gap? The dog's name was Laika. The Day the Music Died in 1959 refers to the plane crash that took the lives of which artists? The answer is Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. the Big Bopper Richardson. Which 1955 film turned James Dean into an icon of teenage rebellion? The correct answer is Rebel Without a Cause. What type of wide, flared skirt, often featuring an embroidered animal on a leash, was extremely popular among teenage girls in the 50s? That was the poodle skirt. What type of wide, flared skirt, often featuring an embroidered animal on a leash, was extremely popular among teenage girls in the 50s? That was the poodle skirt. Which military alliance was established in 1955 by the Soviet Union and Eastern European countries as a counterweight to NATO? The answer is the Warsaw Pact. What was the name of the mass-produced housing projects in New York and Pennsylvania that started the wave of suburbia? The correct answer is Levittown. In 1954, Dr. Jonas Salk successfully tested a vaccine against which dreaded disease? That was polio. The catchphrase, "Look, up in the sky," belongs to which famous comic book character? The answer is Superman. Which fast food chain was franchised and rapidly expanded by Ray Kroc starting in 1955 in Des Plaines, Illinois? That was McDonald's. What is the name of J.D. Salinger's 1951 novel about the alienation of teenager Holden Caulfield? The answer is The Catcher in the Rye. Marilyn Monroe performed the classic white dress blowing up scene in which 1955 film? The correct answer is The 7-Year Itch. What was the name of the small, battery-powered music storage device born in 1954 that allowed young people to listen to music anywhere? The correct answer is the transistor radio. Who was the only heavyweight boxer in history to retire with an undefeated record, 49 wins, 0 losses, in 1956? Boxer Rocky Marciano is the correct answer. The Red Scare is associated with the name of which senator who led witch hunt investigations in the U.S.? The correct answer is Joseph McCarthy. Which iconic theme park opened on July 17, 1955, in Anaheim, California? That was Disneyland. What fashion doll debuted at the New York Toy Fair in 1959, causing controversy because of its adult, womanly shape? The answer is Barbie. In 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court issued which landmark ruling declaring racial segregation in schools unconstitutional? The answer is Brown v. Board of Education. The sound barrier was first broken by an American pilot in 1947, but this technology boomed in the military during the 50s. What was the name of that aircraft? The correct answer is the Bell X-1. Which sitcom was the most beloved of the 50s, centered around a red-headed housewife and her Cuban-born husband? That was the show I Love Lucy. In 1958, the United States launched its first satellite into orbit. What was its name? Satellite Explorer 1. The term rock and roll is believed to have been widely popularized by which Cleveland DJ on the radio in the early 1950s? The correct answer is Alan Freed. What was the literary movement and lifestyle that emphasized freedom and resisted consumer society, with representatives like Jack Kerouac? The answer is the Beat Generation. In the mid-1950s, what type of card began to appear, allowing users to buy now, pay later at restaurants and shops? That was the credit card. Which device is considered the most important factor in changing American family structure and culture in the 1950s? The answer is television. Which household brand is associated with the home party sales model started by women in 1951? The correct answer is Tupperware. Which war involving the U.S. began in 1950 and ended with an armistice in 1953? The correct answer is the Korean War. What type of outdoor entertainment reached its peak popularity in the 1950s, allowing families to watch movies from their cars? That was the drive-in movie theater. What was the first commercial computer produced in the U.S., famous for accurately predicting the results of the 1952 presidential election? The UNIVAC 1 computer. Which two states were the last to be admitted to the United States, the 49th and 50th states, in 1959? The correct answer is Alaska and Hawaii. The famous kitchen debate of 1959 took place between U.S. Vice President Richard Nixon and which Soviet leader? The answer is Nikita Khrushchev. What fashion accessory, often made of plastic with a cat eye shape, became a top trend for women in the 50s? Those were cat eye glasses. What was the name of the group of 9 black students who first attended a white high school in Arkansas in 1957 under military protection? The answer is the Little Rock Nine. Which legendary Brooklyn Dodgers baseball player retired in 1956 after breaking the color barrier in MLB? Jackie Robinson. Superglue was discovered by accident in 1951, but began to be sold commercially in 1958 under what original name? The answer is Eastman 910. Which epic film won a record 11 Oscars in 1959, including Best Picture? The movie Ben-Hur. What was the name of the two-toned flat shoes, usually black and white, extremely popular among American students in the 1950s? Those were saddle shoes. In 1952, the U.S. successfully tested a new nuclear weapon at Eniwetok Atoll with many times the power of an atomic bomb. What was it? The hydrogen bomb. What 1953 Pulitzer Prize-winning literary work by Ernest Hemingway tells of the struggle between an old fisherman and a giant marlin? That was The Old Man and the Sea. Which household appliance began to appear in color in 1954 when RCA released the CT100 model for about $1,000? That was the color TV. What was the men's hairstyle called where the bangs were combed back and held in place with plenty of gel or pomade? The greaser style. Which government agency was established in 1958 to replace NACA, focusing on U.S. space exploration efforts? That was NASA. Which television game show caused a shock in the late 50s when it was discovered to be rigged? The answer is 21. Which painter led the abstract expressionism movement with his famous drip painting technique in the 50s? The correct answer is Jackson Pollock. Which 2 famous baseball teams left New York for California in 1958, marking the westward shift of sports? The correct answer is the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants. What important medical invention in 1953 by Francis Crick and James Watson completely changed modern biology? That was the double helix structure of DNA. What type of automatic music player, found in diners and allowing song selection by inserting coins, reached its peak in the 50s? The correct answer is the jukebox. Which Western television series began broadcasting in 1955 and became the #1 show in the U.S. for many consecutive years? That was Gunsmoke. What special glasses were given to audiences in movie theaters in the 1950s to watch films like House of Wax, 1953? The correct answer is 3D glasses. Which toy debuted in 1952 and became the first children's product to be advertised directly on television? The answer is Mr. Potato Head. How many 1950s things do you remember? Don't forget to share your score in the comments. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss future content. See you again!